everyone, your leader Ashley Lisha B. Dagaang here. Come and join us as we enter the world of bar graph. Let's get into the point. Learning objectives. At the end of the lesson, the students should be able to define the bar graph, to understand the history of bar graph, to identify the different types of bar graph, to know the elements of bar graph, and to appreciate the purpose and importance of bar graph in presentation and real-life application. Bar graph is comprises of definition and types of bar graph, history and elements of bar graph, steps in making a bar graph, problem and solution, application, and lastly, summary. Now, let's go deeper about bar graph.
Bar graph. Bar graph is also known as bar chart. It is a graphical representation of data, quantities, or number using bars or scripts. It is used to compare and contrast numbers, frequencies, or other measure of distinct categories of data. It can be plotted either in horizontal or vertical bars that do not need to be in any specific order. The primary features of any bar graph is its length or height. There are different types of bar graph. The four main types of bar graph are vertical bar graphs, horizontal bar graphs, group bar graphs, and stack bar graph. So vertical bar graph, if the group of data are represented vertically in a graph or chart with the help of bars, then it is called a vertical bar graph. It is represented the data along the y-axis with the height of the bars indicating the values. Horizontal bar graph. If the group of data are represented horizontally in the graph or chart with the help of bars, then the such graph is called a horizontal bar graph. It represented the data along the x-axis with the length of the bars indicating the value. Group bar graph is also called as the cluster bar graph. It can be in the form of vertical or horizontal bar chart, which is used to represent the discrete value for more than one object that shares the same category. In this type of bar chart, the total number of instances are combined into a single bar, which means that different sets of data items is being compared, and it is used single color to represent the specific series across the data set. Stack bar graph is also referred as the composite bar chart. It can be in the form of vertical and horizontal chart, which divided the aggregates into different parts. In this type of bar chart, it requires specific labeling to show the different parts of the bars, which means each part can be represented using different colors to easily distinguish the different categories. Each bars represents the whole, and each segments represent the various parts of the whole.
History of bar graph. But first, let us know who invented bar graph. William Playfair is a Scottish engineer, political economist, and a scoundrel. He was the one who invented bar graph. He developed the first bar graph in 1786 and was inspired by Joseph Priestley's timeline of chart in 1765. This time we're going to talk about the elements of bar graph. There are 6 elements of bar graph. First, axis. There are 2 axes present on each graph. X-axis horizontal, Y-axis vertical. One axis represents the numerical data values, while the other represents the categorical data against which numerical data is plotted. Second, titles. In the title, it contains keywords that explains what the bar graph is all about. Third, label. It can be shown both sides and bottom of the bar graph. It tells about what kind of data is shown on the bar graph. Fourth, scales. It's the number that shows the units used on the bar graph. Fifth, bars. It's like a ruler that measures the data number. And then the last one, legends. It's only needed when the data is about more than one category shown on the bar graph. It shows different symbols, colors that represent different categories.
Steps in making a bar graph. Step number 1. Enter the title, horizontal axis, and vertical axis labels of the graph. Step number 2, enter data label names or values or range. Step number 3, set number of data series. Step number 4, for each data series, enter data values with space delimiter, label, or color. Step number 5, check horizontal bars or stack bars if needed. Step number 6, write the names on the horizontal axis, such as red, orange, yellow, and green. Step number 7, now level the vertical axis. For example, types of color like red, blue, and yellow. Step number 8, finalize the scale range for the provided data. And finally, step number 9, construct the bar graph that should represent each category of the pet with their respective numbers.
Let's discuss. Here is a sample problem and solution. Engineer Manal wanted to know which areas of math that are interesting according to his students. There are 70 students in the class. 30% of it chose geometry. 18 students voted algebra. 15 students liked statistics and probability. 10 students picked arithmetic and the rest selected calculus. As seen in the given dataset, the areas of math are geometry, algebra, statistics and probability, arithmetic, and calculus. To place this on the bar graph, we first need to collect the data. After that, we will construct the title, which is the interesting math areas. Next, identify and label the axis. The x-axis will be labeled as the number of students or the students' votes. The y-axis will be labeled as the math areas. Then, write the scale or the number of students at the bottom part of the graph and the areas of math at the left part of the graph. After constructing the basis of the bar graph, we will now put the bars for specific areas of math with its corresponding number of votes of students. Here, we are using horizontal bar graph. That's it, but take note that the 6 elements of a bar graph should be present. Here, we can see the elements, the x-axis and the y-axis, the title, the labels, the scale, the bars, and the legend. As we already know how to build a bar graph, I am going to challenge you to these questions which are related to our previous topic, which is descriptive statistics. Number 1. Which areas of math got the maximum and minimum number of students' votes? So obviously, as shown in the bar graph, geometry is the highest number of student votes, while calculus has the lowest. Calculate the range of the graph. To get the range, we'll subtract the lowest value from the highest value. The highest number of votes is 21, and the lowest is 6. Now, we have 21 minus 6 equals 15. The range of the data presented is 15. What is the average number of students in all areas of math? To get the average, we will add all the data values and divide it by the number of data points. The total number of students is 70, and there are 5 data points. So, 21 plus 10 plus 18 plus 15 plus 6 equals 70. Then, divide it by 5. 70 divided by 5 equals 14. The average number of students is 14. That's it for the challenge. We will now move on to the next part.
Application of bar graph. Bar graphs are frequently used in the area of business, finance research, statistics, and any other context for comparing and seeing variables in data presentation. It is used to match things between different groups or to trace the changes over time has used in many real-life situations. Business and commerce. Bar graphs are useful in showing disparate data sets, such as sales by store information to customers, employees, and other business. And in potential investors, for they will know the business history before they decide to invest a company. As companies become increasingly data-driven and monitor more data, bar graphs have become increasingly variable tool. They help executives quickly get the pulse of their business, while department heads might use graphs to examine the effectiveness of a new strategy or campaign and its impact on their team. Those bar graphs make it easier for individuals to understand large amounts of data, strengths, and relationship. The use of graphs in daily life also helps in making analysis.
After all what I have discussed, let's end our lesson by giving you the overview of the topic. Remember, bar graph is a graphical representation of data, quantities, or numbers using bar and strips. Bar graphs has four main types, namely vertical bar graphs, horizontal bar graphs, group bar graphs, and stack bar graphs. The man who invented the bar graph is William Playfair, a Scottish engineer, political economist, and scoundrel. The first bar graph was developed in 1786. It consists of 6 elements, which are axes, titles, labels, scales, bars, and legends. Bar graph plays an important role in showing disparate data sets, such as sales by stores and information to customers, employees, other business, and potential investors.